Hello and welcome. In this video discussion today, we are going to talk about cell, what is cell, and we are also going to talk about what are the different components of cell, as well as we will understand what is your DNA. So let us start. So if I talk about cell, you have to understand that cell, it is the basic unit of life, or I can also say that this cell is a fundamental unit of life. And when I'm saying that this is fundamental unit of life, it also means that this cell is capable of independent existence. It also means that every living thing, it is made up of cell. So it means that if I say that all life, it is made up of cell. Is this clear to you? Okay. Now, when I'm talking about cell, this cell has to have a boundary. So now imagine that this is your cell and this cell has a boundary. So the boundary of the cell, it is known as cell membrane, boundary of cell. Okay. Now, this cell, so we can say that inside the cell, you will have certain cellular components. So cellular components are nothing. These are the components of the cell. So one of the component is your cell membrane. The second is your nucleus. The third is your cytoplasm. If we talk about nucleus, you have to understand that this nucleus, it is the brain of the cell. And when I'm saying this is the brain of the cell, it means that it is going to control what? It is going to control cellular functions. Is it clear? If I talk about cytoplasm, you have to understand that this is this fluidic thing. So cytoplasm is nothing. It is the fluid matrix. It is the fluid matrix in which these cellular components, they float. So if you try to see this figure, you will understand that this is the liquid in which you have all these cellular components that is floating inside the cell. So have you understood that cell, it is the fundamental unit of life which is capable of independent existence, and all life, it is made up of cell. So जितनी भी लाइफ है, जितनी भी लिविंग बींग्स हैं, उनके अंदर सेल होती हैं. एंड नाउ दिस सेल, अब ये सेल जो है इसकी एक बाउंड्री होनी चाहिए, एंड इसी बाउंड्री को हम बोलेंगे सेल मेम्ब्रेन. देन यू हैव न्यूक्लियस. न्यूक्लियस इज नथिंग बट द ब्रेन ऑफ द सेल, एंड दिस ब्रेन ऑफ द सेल, इट कंट्रोल्स योर सेलुलर फंक्शंस. साइटोप्लाज्म की अगर हम बात करें तो ये एक फ्लूइडिक मैट्रिक्स है जिसके अंदर ये जो सेलुलर कंपोनेंट्स हैं वो आपके फ्लोट करते हैं. Then there is one more component which is called as cell organelles. Example, cell organelles, example is mitochondria. You must have read in your class 9th and 10th NCERTs that there is a cellular organelle called mitochondria, which is also known as powerhouse of the cell. Okay, so now understand, sir, what do you mean by cell organelles? So cell organelles is nothing. It is the one component of cell. It is the one component of cell, and this one component of cell is there to perform one particular function. For example, nucleus. So nucleus is there to control the cellular function. Cell membrane is there. It is the boundary of the cell. Cytoplasm is there. It is the fluidic matrix in which all the cellular components, they float. If I talk about mitochondria, so mitochondria is also one of the cell organelles, because now it has a specific function. And what is the specific function? That it is considered as the powerhouse of the cell. What do you mean by powerhouse of the cell? It simply means that it provides energy to whom? It provides energy to the cell. Is this point clear to you? Okay. Now understand one thing, that if I talk about human body, so this human body has around 2 trillion cells. Okay. Now from baby to an adult, you will see that the cell is going to reproduce. For example, if I say that this baby at its initial stage, let's say it has 500 cells. So once he will be an adult, or once he will be a man, so this cell will also reproduce, and now he is going to have around 10,000 cells. So we do understand that cell has a tendency to reproduce. Cell has a tendency to reproduce, and And this reproduction of cell contributes to what is called as growth. Okay, so understand this by this figure, that now let's say this is the cell. So after some time what will happen, this cell will reproduce into this and it will this. So all the cellular information that is there in this cell, it will also be transferred. Yes or no? It will also be. If I talk about what kind of cellular information, because now see this, that this particular cell will have mitochondria, this particular cell will have cell membrane, this particular cell will have cytoplasm, and now when the cell is going to reproduce, it also means that all these things will also be transferred. Is it okay? So now understand this, that this is the nucleus, this is the nucleus, this is the nucleus, and here information is being transferred. Is it okay? And the information and this is the process of reproduction. So cell has a tendency of reproduction, as we had already talked about it. Now understand that when I'm saying this that this information will be transferred. So once this information will be transferred, where it will be stored? So this information will be stored is what is called as DNA. So when the information from one cell it transferred to the other cell, the information it is being stored is in DNA, and this DNA, it is nothing but your deoxyribonucleic acid. We'll try to understand it also, that what do you mean by DNA. Now this is the structure of DNA, and as I told you that this DNA, what is the function of DNA? This DNA stores information. What kind of information? Information related to the cell, and that is why we will call it cellular information. Is this clear to you? Now if we try to understand the structure of the DNA, we'll understand that this is nothing but your double helix structure. This is nothing but your double helix structure. Is this idea clear to you? When I'm talking about double helix structure, it is somewhere like this. Okay, the problem here is if we try to zoom out, this will look like this. Is it okay? Okay, now understand this problem, that this particular DNA, it is very long. Is it okay? It is very long, but the cell in which it is going to stay, this cell is very small. So that is why we will see that this DNA will not be stored in its original form, rather it will be condensed. Is it okay? Condensed means what? That now it will be stored in the form of coil. So how the transition is happening here, just try to understand this. Now when we say that this is a double helix structure, and now you will see that this will be coiled like this, and now this size will reduce, and now it will be easy for the cell to restore this particular DNA. Is it okay? And that is why we say that every cell of our body has a DNA, and this is the stranded form of DNA. Is it okay? This is the stranded form of DNA, and we call it the original form. We call it that this is a double helix structure. Is this idea clear to you? Why? What is the need of it? The need is simple, that we do not have enough space in the cell to store this particular DNA in its original form. So okay, now understand one thing here. So what all we have understood by now? The first point here is that cell has to reproduce, and this is where we have to understand that this reproduction is responsible for your growth. And when I'm talking about growth, it also means that the information, what kind of information? Cellular information, it has to be transferred. So this is the parent cell, and This are these daughter cells. Is it okay? This is the parent cell. So information will be transferred from the parent cell to the daughter cell. Okay. So, and where the information will be stored? Information will be stored in the DNA, which is the full form of DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. We'll also understand that every cell has a DNA, and this DNA is present near the nucleus. We had also understood that this DNA in its original form, or the double helix structure, it cannot be stored inside a cell. That is why there is a need of condensation. So the original double helix structure, it will be condensed because it is very, very long. Is this idea clear to you? Now understand this: the original form of DNA, which is a double helix structure, on condensation, or you say first coiling, it will be known as chromatin. It is known as chromatin. And if we further condense it, it is known as chromosomes. So if you try to understand the structure, see this. So let's say, then it will be like this, and then it will be like this. Is it okay? So this is the chromosome. First, so understand this, that DNA after first condensation, it will be known as chromatin. Chromatin will also get further condensation, which we called as chromosomes. So now if I ask you the definition of chromosome, what will you say? You will say, sir, chromosomes, they are nothing but they are condensed DNA. Yes or no? Chromosomes are nothing but they are condensed DNA. Where it is placed? It is placed inside the cell. Yes or no? Inside the cell, where it is placed? It is placed near the nucleus. Yes or no? And we also understood that this nucleus is the brain of the cell. Yes or no? Brain of the cell. So it means that all the information that cell is getting, it is controlled by the nucleus. And when I'm talking about information, it is stored in the DNA, and chromosome, it is the condensed form of DNA. So have you understood till now? Okay.